What do you get if you cross a sports car with a limo and an estate? Well, according to Porsche, you get the new Panamera. And that's why, for this review, I'm going to divide the car up into 3 sections to examine these claims. So I'm going to start at the front to examine the sports car bit. This is the range-topping turbo version of the Panamera, and it costs 95 grand. Under the bonnet there's a twin-turbo 4.8 litre V8 with 500 horsepower and a colossal 700 newton metres of torque. This engine is just like monstrously quick. If you floor the throttle, you have to be careful you don't swallow your tongue. 0 to 62 miles an hour takes just 4.2 seconds, while top speed, that's 188 miles an hour. With the adjustable suspension in its sportiest setting, there's very little body roll through corners, and the four-wheel drive system provides plenty of reassuring grip. And the steering, I mean, it's really sharp, it's really direct, but you don't get the same kind of feedback that you would from a proper sports car like a 911. And that's the thing, the Panamera is very impressive to drive for a big car, but it does lack a certain element of fun. So then, is the Panamera a sports car? Almost, but not quite. Right then, let's move on to the centre of the car to see how it measures up as a limo. I have to say, this is one of the finest interiors of any car I've seen. It's so stylish that Terence Conran could have designed it. Have you ever seen wood in a car look this good? I haven't. And of course, being made by Porsche means the cabin is so solid you could use it as a nuclear bunker. I also really like this key. Look, it's a little baby Panamera. How cool is that? That has to be the coolest car key I've ever seen. What's not so cool though is that this car has keyless going. To start the engine, I have to turn this horrendous black plastic paddle. Why couldn't Porsche just have given me a normal starter button? I want to press a starter button. And that's quite ironic really. You see, rather than go for some fiddly dial-operated menu system like BMW's iDrive, refreshingly you can operate the Porsche's functions using good old-fashioned buttons. However, there's quite a lot of them. In the front alone, I've counted 94, and there's even more in the rear. For instance, back here, there's all manner of buttons. There's a button for warming my bottom. There's a button for cooling my bottom. There's also a button for keeping the sun off my pathetic freckly skin. In fact, it seems the only button that Porsche's forgot about is the button that makes all the others disappear. In fact, it makes this car look a little bit like it's a spaceship from some 1970s sci-fi film. Now I wonder... Anyway, enough about buttons. Let's see what it's like to be chauffeured in the back of this big Porsche. As you can see, there's lots of room in the back here. There's plenty of headroom, and these seats, I can adjust them to make them deeper, to make myself even more comfortable. And there's lots of space here for my feet. And even if someone in the front has their chair all the way back, I found a solution. You can just stick your feet up here on the centre console and go for the full business class experience. Because this particular model is on low profile tyres, the ride is actually pretty good. Even with the suspension in the hardest setting, you could definitely go a long way in the back of the Panamera, although I do have to say it's not quite as comfy or roomy as a Mercedes S-Class. So is the Panamera a limo? Well, almost, but not quite. And let's move on to the back end of the car to see what it's like as an estate. Yes, the back end. It's a little bit frightening to look at. Because Porsche have had to give the car a high roofline so there's decent room in the back, and also tried to make it look a bit like a 911, they've ended up kind of giving the car the appearance of a Beetle. Now, I'm not talking about a VW Beetle, but an actual Beetle. I mean, look, it's even got wings like a Beetle. However, I shouldn't really moan too much because this is a sporty car that you can actually carry stuff in because it's got a proper decent boot. If you like carrying litres around, Porsche says you can fit 445 of them in the Panamera's boot, or an extra 805 if you fold the seats down. Trouble is, you can't actually haul around anything large because there's an immovable central armrest and it kind of gets in the way. Duh! So then, is the Panamera an estate? Well, almost, but not quite. I mean, when I first heard about the car, I was a little bit sceptical, but after spending time with it, I am impressed with what Porsche's done. I mean, it's almost a sports car, it's almost a limo, and it is almost an estate. And therein lies the problem, really. It's a bit of a jack of all trades, a master of none. So then, that begs the question, is the Panamera a truly great car? And I'd have to say, almost. but not quite.